US Model 1905 bayonet. A pretty infamous bayonet in the US arsenal, if I do say so myself. Served through both World Wars, granted a little bit of modification in between, a bunch of variations. Ton of variations, really. Let's get into the history of it a little bit. These guys replaced the very short-lived, it's kind of a joke bayonet, the Model 1903 rod bayonet. Production began on these at Springfield Arsenal and Rock Island Arsenal in about 1906. Springfield Arsenal is going to produce them until about 1922. RIA is going to produce until about 1919, end of World War I. Now, in World War I, they're going to look like this. They're going to have these wood grips. All right, and I'm sure a great many of them are going to be blued. In World War II, they're going to modify these and give them the composite grips, and they're going to rename them the Model 1942 bayonet. A lot of these are also going to be shortened down. We'll talk about that a little bit later. I think that probably the most interesting thing about this bayonet is the locking system. It's got a internal bar that when you press this button, the bar lifts up, and in the mortise you can see a small hook right there that moves. Now, obviously, they're going to do the same thing with the M1 bayonet, because the M1 bayonet is essentially a refined version of the 1905. So, it can get a little confusing, especially since they ended up renaming these when they just, switched the grips on them and gave them new scabbards. The crossguard kind of goes along with the locking system. Same thing on the M1 bayonet. It's got these two slots here, which on the scabbard, these two teeth go into, and this kind of locks on it, so it just does not come out of the scabbard. That's going to be a problem later. A lot of troops aren't going to be able to get their bayonets out in time, etc., whatever. You're going to find a lot of these that have bright finishes. You're going to find a lot of these that have blued finishes, like this. And I've seen a video on YouTube where one guy called these abortions. And you can see that's where somebody kind of tried to remove the original bluing and make it a bright blade. And, well, it just didn't work, so I suppose, it actually looks like they did a fairly well done job, and they just kind of did everything on both sides except for the fuller, and when they got to the fuller, they were like, I don't think I'm going to be able to get that out, so I'm just going to quit. So you can see some of the original bluing right there on the Ricassos and all the way down the fuller. So thanks to whoever did that. A rather poor example of an M1905, but still an example. And actually I've heard that the earliest ones are going to have kind of blued hilts like this and bright blades, so who knows, maybe that's what that person was trying to do. I don't know. I think they were just probably trying to show it off. So after U.S. goes into World War I, they're definitely going to blue and parkerize all these blades so that the moonlight and the sunlight doesn't reflect off of them like it's doing now. And I think that's probably about it for these blades for the history and information, at least all the information that I have. Let's talk about the scabbards, though. What I have right there is the World War II scabbard, the M3 scabbard, made of fiberglass. It's got the U.S. Arsenal marking on it with the flaming bomb. Those went during World War II, I suppose, when they reclassified them in 1942, but strangely enough, this one still has wood grips, so just a very, very interesting combination, and yeah. Anyway, the scabbards, there's gonna be 3 types, 4 if you count the World War II scabbard. The first type is going to be a leather-covered wood body with a canvas cover and a steel belt loop on the back. The second is going to be the same 1905 scabbard, but modified. They're going to do something to change the belt loop on that, because that wasn't working out too well. And lo and behold, 1910 comes around, they make a third scabbard with a hide-covered wood body, canvas cover, and this 1910 hanger right here. and that's going to definitely fix the hanger problem for them. Anyways, now for the particulars of the bayonet. This one was made in Springfield Arsenal in 1918, so pretty late example, especially for 1905s in general. Like I said, Springfield Arsenal makes these until about 1922, I think. There's a serial number on the back, 873332. And I think that's all about all the information that I have on the model 1905. Eventually, I'd definitely like to replace this one and get a much nicer version of it. But the market for them right now, very expensive, especially with those older scabbards. Thanks for watching, everybody. Gonna have more bayonet videos soon.